These are people who know how to work, and that's why you get lower turnovers.
Yeah.
We are a third lower on turnovers in our market than the national average.
Right.
When people come to work, if you treat them well, you pay them well, and you respect them as individuals,
Yeah.
they're loyal to a fault.
Welcome to Gone to Texas, the official podcast of the Texas Economic Development Connection. On every episode, we share the stories of business owners and CEOs who have relocated or expanded their business into Texas. Our goal is to use these stories as a guide to help others who are ready to hang a sign on the door that says, Gone to Texas. And now, please welcome your host, the Managing Partner and Chief Inspiration Officer for Day One Experts, Super Dave Quinn.
Welcome back to the Gone to Texas podcast, powered by Day One Experts, where we share real stories of business growth, relocation, and entrepreneurship in the Lone Star State. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, and today's episode is sponsored by our good friends at the TexAmerica Center, one of the largest mixed-use industrial parks in the Americas. With over 12,000 acres and 3.5 million square feet of commercial and industrial property ready for your next project. Our guest is Eric Voyles, Executive Vice President and Chief Economic Development Officer of TexAmerica Center. From military base to manufacturing hub, the TexAmerica Center is proof of how Texas reinvents itself and why companies from across the country are planting roots here in Texarkana in the Upper East Texas region. Eric, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Dave.
Hey, thanks for having us out. I always love coming out to East Texas, my kind of home where I grew up. So it's always fun to get back out. I was telling the girls earlier that I find myself slowing down and driving like 50 miles an hour like my dad used to. I now get it. Like just relaxing driving out here.
That changed since the last time I was through here.
Oh, my goodness. It is so great. Hey, so listen, for our audience who's not familiar with what TexAmerica Center is, kind of give us, explain it so that an audience members, you're not really a city, you're not really just an industrial. I mean, you're not just an industrial park, right? There's something special about it. So tell us a little bit about what TexAmerica Center is and kind of how we got here.
Yeah, I'm going to start a little bit with the history, Dave, and then walk into who we are. So we are in existence because this is a former military base. The United States Army determined twice now that they didn't need all of the property and buildings that they had because they once owned 40,000 square feet and over 40,000 acres and over 12 million square feet of space here. So they right-sized the property the first time in 1995 through what's called a base realignment and closure process.
Okay.
And then they did it again in 2005. So we didn't exist prior to that. The state of Texas really didn't know what to do with all this property and buildings. And so they created legislation in 97 that allowed a local county to form something called a local redevelopment authority.
Okay.
And that's what we are. So we are a state of Texas special purpose district. When you look at our charter, we look exactly like a municipality. The only thing we can't do is tax. So there's no revenue that comes to us. So we're a municipality that has to operate like a business.
Oh, man, you're very entrepreneurial then.
So, yes. So we lease existing buildings, we sell ground, and we provide fee-for-service activities. And we're constantly trying to listen to the voice of our customers, so to adjust and move in directions where we can provide fee-for-service.
Right.
So we're a lot like an economic development organization in that we can only operate on our property. So even though we own 12,000 acres and 2.5 million square feet of space, we are landlocked here, and just like an economic development organization for a community, they're trying to bring jobs for the local residents. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring jobs for local residents. We're trying to diversify the industrial base here and the taxes for the local government entities. And if everything goes well, we create jobs and new capital investment, and the local economy grows and thrives.
Right. So from that standpoint, from the diversity standpoint, what types of activities do you find in your park? What is the industrial base, or what is the target audience for operations here at TexAmerica Center?
So the targeted audience for us is we did a couple of different targeted industry studies. We did a targeted industry study focused on the overall greater Texarkana area.
Right.
We did a targeted industry study based upon the infrastructure available on our footprint.
Right.
And then we did a targeted industry study, and this one's a little bit older, but I think it's still relevant. We did a targeted industry study based upon what was emerging in the global economy back in 2021.
Okay.
And so we've combined all that information together to determine what our targeted industries are, and those are available on our website. But it includes advanced manufacturing, data centers, defense. We've got a huge defense economy within 150 miles of here. I mean, of course, we sit adjacent to the Red River Army Depot.
Right.
But we also we sit in the Piney Woods, which is a large coniferous forest.
Right.
So where hardwoods grow almost as fast as softwoods. So there's a tremendous amount of employment in forestry and that entire supply chain and end products.
Right.
Chemicals, anything that's good in the state of Texas, we tend to be good for. Anything that's good in the state of Arkansas, we tend to be good for. Anything that's good in the Louisiana market and the Oklahoma market, we tend to be good for because we set on those 4 state lines.
Yeah.
So we pick up the attributes from all 4. So we actually have 18 targeted industries that fit well for the Texarkana market and our property. If it's a heavy industry project that needs rail and cheap electricity, we're a great fit for it. If it is, we're one of the few communities in the state of Texas that has copious amounts of water. So if it's a water need, we currently have 1.7 million gallons of water per day available on our footprint.
That's amazing.
And if we were to spend $2 million, I can get that over $4 million if we upgrade the pumps.
Right.
And by 2027, that number will go to $30 million when we have a new water plant built on our property, and the ultimate design capacity of that water plant will be 90 million gallons a day.
Wow.
So it has implications in terms of who we talk to.
Right.
It has implications in terms of the quality of the workforce that we have. And so all of these things kind of flow back into what makes us a good location. About 18.6% of the workforce in a 75-mile radius is involved in manufacturing. That doesn't include the logistics and distribution aspects. So if you look at the blue collar, it's over 50% of the workforce in the Texarkana market is tied to blue collar activities.
So I think that surprises a lot of people. They don't realize how much manufacturing talent from a skilled workforce and the people being able to do that is located in this region.
That's very true. And if you just come into Texarkana, you don't see it. Texarkana is I always like to say it's a metropolitan community with an interesting blue-collar flair.
Right. And
but you just don't see a lot of that manufacturing in Texarkana. You got to move out into the more rural area.
Right.
Just within, along 82 where we're located here in Interstate 30, you've got West Fraser, you've got Texana Tank Car, you've got the Depot, you've got Energy X, you've got a company called Veptos. I mean, we do everything, kind of like the old Central Hardware commercial. We do everything from scoop to nuts here in Texarkana when it comes to manufacturing. We have a very, very diverse and solid industrial base here.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about that, because it's a little unique that you do sit close to Arkansas, because you sort of have this interesting dance that you do with 2 different states, and people don't just stop at the state line. If there's a good job or there's that industry, it flows back and forth across. Talk a little bit about, having to work in our region where you've got sort of the power of 2 states working for you?
Yeah. So the workforce that we bring to the table for most employers breaks down like this. About 60% will live in Texas, 30% will live in Arkansas, and the remaining 10%, about 5% in Louisiana and 5% in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And what's unique about us is even though we are a metro area, we're incredibly rural.
Yeah.
So from our interchange on I-30 to get back to Dallas is 160 miles roughly.
Yeah.
Same thing to Little Rock is 160 miles. To the next largest community to the north is Fort Smith, which is 190 miles. We only start to look like a normal labor market as you go south. We're 90 miles from Shreveport, 100 miles from Longview, and 90 miles from Longview and 100 miles from Tyler. And that's why we talk about our labor shed being a 75-mile radius. Because in 3 of those directions, to the west, to the north, and to the east, the break point where it becomes more economical for you to drive one direction versus the other for employment is over 80 miles.
Wow. Okay.
And so when you do a commuting analysis on the Texarkana market, what we find is that there is over 25% of the people that work in Bowie County are currently driving 50 to 75 miles to get to their place of employment and then driving the same 50 to 75 miles to get home. And so because of that, that number is 5 times the U.S. average.
Right.
So we are statistically different than almost any other market in the country.
Right.
And, it's not conventional. We talk to site selectors.
Oh, I bet that drives them crazy.
And they don't want to believe it. But we show them the data.
Yeah.
Some still refuse to believe it, and they advise their clients incorrectly that we don't have the labor market. But here's the facts. That 75-mile radius tends to have a labor shed of working-age individuals between about 530 to about 560,000 individuals. We run consistently with 20,000 people who are unemployed.
Right.
Underemployed, meaning people that have 2 jobs or they have a degree to do this but have to take a lower paying job because that job's not available. That's over 30,000 individuals. And because we don't create enough jobs for this market, the people who we were talking about drive 50 to 75 miles, the number of people that live in this market, that they themselves commute to jobs in Dallas and Fort Smith and Little Rock and the communities, that number is over 120,000 people get on the interstates and drive to jobs at over 75 miles away every day because we don't have enough jobs here. So that's how when we had a job fair for a company that wanted to hire 150 people and pay at or above the average wage, we wound up having 2,500 people show up at the job fair and 1,500 individuals signed up who lived outside the market that were trying to move home.
Just trying to get home. So I've talked to business owners this week on this, Upper East Texas. They all are saying the same thing, right? They have people that live an hour and 15 that have in 2 years never had any issue with not showing up, not being in late. They're like, it's a good job. They like doing it, but they have a place they want to live, and that's where they're living, and they're willing to drive and do that. Growing up, I have a personal story. My mom drove an hour and a half into Dallas every day because she wanted us to be raised in this community, and she would drive back and forth every day. And so when site selectors like, I don't know if people really do that. I'm like, I lived it. My mom did that for 6 years that I know of, growing up, all through high school to get us there. So I understand now why you're so data-driven. That is a hard story to tell if you don't have the data.
Absolutely. And I think your comment about the rural workforce is very interesting because you lay on top of that most of these individuals are 1 or 2 generations away from working on a farm.
Yeah.
So it's still part of the family culture to work hard.
Yeah.
You go into a major market, that's been forgotten for decades.
Right.
but not here.
Yeah.
My boss, worked on a dairy until he went to college. He got up at 3 in the morning and didn't stop working until 9 at night as a teenager.
Yeah.
School was an inconvenience for his dad,
Right.
but
Go do
Mom
that
made
thing.
sure that he went. He'll tell you that story. But that's what you get, and all your clients, people you work with, they're all rural communities. We all have the same workforce.
Yeah.
These are people who know how to work, and that's why you get lower turnovers.
Yeah.
We are a third lower on turnovers in our market than the national average.
Right.
When people come to work, if you treat them well, you pay them well, and you respect them as individuals,
Yeah.
they're loyal to a fault.
I had a great conversation yesterday, and that was the thing, was that culture, when they got to work, they felt valued. It wasn't like they were paying extra money or a higher wage rate, but they valued them as a person, right? And they treated them, it wasn't just a widget
Absolutely.
or a thing. And so that was part of the conversation yesterday. So I love that. So if you're talking about to a site consultant or a business owner, 12,000 acres, you guys, that's a lot. It's a lot of land and availability. But you have road access because where we are, kind of talk about the logistic assets that you have that makes this such a great, and it's a great find here in Upper East Texas. What are the logistics that you got rail, you got runway.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with our property and we'll move off of it. So from the aspect of how prepared are we for development, we've spent over $70 million, a lot of it grant dollars, to remediate the property and get it to a point where it is Class B industrial development qualified property. We've won federal grant dollars, we've won state grant dollars, and we've put in new sewer lines, new water lines. Our electricity provider, AEP SWEPCO, is a regulated market. And so because we had customers here, when they took over the property from the depot, they came in and completely overbuilt the existing depot-run electric system. We've brought in a third-party provider for natural gas, a company called Navitas. They've built in a dual 4-inch distribution line with one being at 35 PSI, the other one being at 85, so we can regulate it to what people's needs are. And we can deliver today 130 MCF of natural gas, which even large users typically don't need more than 50. So, everything that we've done has been focused on bringing industrial quality and capacity utilities onto the footprint. I didn't mention fiber. In the course of trying to make sure we had all the utilities on the footprint, we hired a group run by CBRE to take a look at the Texarkana fiber situation. And what we found is that, and no one knew this, even the salespeople we were talking to at the local IT companies, that we had 2 long-haul fiber connections into Texarkana.
Right.
And then we found that there are 12 metro fiber networks running through the MSA, 9 of which operating in Bowie County. And then we knew we had 3 that were either legacy or permission to operate on our footprint. And one of those, kind of betting on our future, installed 144 strand data center quality fiber on all 3 of our campuses.
I bet that's a surprise. You just don't expect that.
No, and this is one of those Texarkana things.
Yeah.
The CEO of this company, which is headquartered in Shreveport, was from Hooks, which is a community straight across the old entry gate for the Lone Star Army ammunition plant.
Yeah.
So he knew this. He put money into it as a private individual to try to help the Texarkana area, specifically Hooks, kind of grow again. And, it's taken a while for them to get their return on money. But if you look at it, he spent dollars cheaply because to do it today it costs twice as much.
Right,
what
it's
it
a
did
great
then.
investment, right? It might take you a little longer to get your money back, but it is a great bet to place.
Yeah, absolutely. And so those are the kind of things. And then, if you take it off of our footprint, there's 3 interstates that do or will connect here.
Right.
I-30 already runs through, connecting Dallas back to Little Rock, and you pick up 40 there, you go to Memphis, and then the interstate system just explodes across the entire eastern seaboard. 49 currently runs from New Orleans up to Texarkana. There's about 120 miles missing between Texarkana and Fort Smith.
Right.
The state of Arkansas is currently building a new I-49 bridge across the Arkansas River.
Oh, sweet.
Once that's done, they'll continue their march south to connect here.
That's another pathway unlocked, right? Like that you get that bridge in.
Absolutely. When that's put in, because once you get up to, I always call it Walmart land, because that's where Walmart's headquartered, Tyson's headquartered. But you get up to Walmart land, then you connect to 29, which runs all the way up to Kansas City, and then 29 and 35 split, and you hit the entire western side of Canada from that, plus connecting into 80, 90, all the roads that run across to the west. The other is going to be I-69. So I-69 is complete coming out of Canada on the east side,
right,
over Detroit, runs down through Indianapolis. They've now completed to Evansville, I believe, and so you have pieces that are being complete from Evansville down to Memphis. It's supposed to run from Memphis to a community just south of us called Carthage, Texas. We don't think we're going to see that happen in really anyone's lifetime, and I don't think the state of Texas thinks it's going to happen. So what the state of Texas has been doing is they've built 3 legs coming out of Mexico. So you have I-69 east, central, and west coming across at major international borders with Mexico. They converge at Corpus Christi on the US 59 route, which runs all the way to Texarkana. About halfway between Corpus Christi and Houston, it becomes shielded as I-69. It runs through Houston as I-69, and then about a third of the way to Texarkana, it's 69. And then there's multiple construction projects that are ongoing. I think there's 3 separate projects right now where they're upgrading 59 to be I-69, and that's going to take it all the way to Carthage.
Right.
When it gets to Carthage, they're going to continue to overbuild 59 and 259, and that's going to be Interstate 369.
Okay.
They've already built a full outer belt around Texarkana.
Yeah, I was on it this morning.
Exactly.
As I was traveling the region, trying to try to figure out where I was at and stuff.
And they've already built a flyover to connect to 59. So 59 between Carthage and here is shielded at 75 miles an hour. It's 2-lane divided. All that has to be done is build the outer belts or the bypasses, whatever your choice is to talk about that.
Right.
And then I-30 becomes the de facto connection back to I-69. And it doesn't matter if Louisiana can afford to build its portion, or if Arkansas has put other projects like the widening of 82 across the southern portion of Arkansas in front of I-69 projects. And let me mention that real quick. So US 82, which connects here at Texarkana, begins over, I think it's in Savannah on the Atlantic seaboard, and it is a 4-lane interstate quality road all the way to the Mississippi, and it is a 4-lane bridge running across the Mississippi. Then it connects to a 2-lane road across the southern portion and runs all the way into Texarkana. Governor Huckabee has made it a state priority to upgrade that because of the billions of dollars that are going into investment for lithium extraction and processing in southern Arkansas.
Yeah.
She's made it a priority to upgrade that to 4 lanes. And so you're going to start seeing from that bridge to Texarkana go to basically an interstate quality road, which gives us another access point.
Yeah, over to the Savannah
east.
Port?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So the other side of that is 82 leaves Texarkana and runs over towards Wichita Falls, and I forget if it's Amarillo or Lubbock, but it's 2 to 4 lanes through there. And Governor Abbott is putting money in to try to raise everything at least 1 additional lane.
Right.
So 4 would go to 5 with a turn lane, 3 would go to 4, 2 is going to go to 3 with a turn lane. And the whole thing winds up being really great for us, especially since the first leg of it is a connection over to DeKalb and also over to Paris.
Right.
And both of those go north and connect into an interstate, Oklahoma interstate called the Oklahoma Turnpike.
Yeah.
That runs a 4-lane all the way north and connects with 40 and 44, connecting you to Oklahoma City as well as Tulsa.
Right.
So we wind up with something new out of this, which is going to be 4-lane access to the northwest.
This episode of Gone to Texas is brought to you by the TexAmerica Center, one of the largest and most flexible industrial parks in North America. With nearly 12,000 acres of development-ready land and millions of square feet of commercial, manufacturing, and logistics space, TexAmerica Center gives businesses room to grow without the guesswork. Located just west of Texarkana, Texas, on Interstate 30, this strategic location combines rail, interstate, and fiber connections with a pro-business climate, low operational cost, and a highly skilled workforce, all designed to keep your project on schedule and under budget. Whether you need build-a-suit solutions or move-in-ready facilities, or a one-stop relocation partner who understands incentives, permitting, and workforce development, TexAmerica Center streamlines the process so you can focus on growth and not red tape. For companies looking for low-cost, high-value, and relocation made easy, TexAmerica Center delivers. Visit TexAmericaCenter.com to explore available properties and learn how they can help you make your next expansion a reality. There's so much going on over in that, like that Texoma corridor, up 35 and in Paris and all of that along the Red River. I mean, it is just blowing up. And so being able to serve into those plants, again, people not from around here would think, well, that's not very close, but the price point at which you're able to offer utilities and land and all of what you just talked about, logistics, utility-wise, and then the roadway system, like it could be just next door. It feels like it, right? The shipping is not that far.
And we're cutting minutes to hours off of that by getting these direct connections to these places. And so all of a sudden, I didn't say this. This was something that was said by a site trip consultant we had here. When we got to talking about all this, he's like, my God, Texarkana is the Indianapolis of the South. I like that.
That is a really good...
It is, right?
That's a really good moniker, yeah.
So then we have rail. There are 7 separate rail lines that converge here. There's about 125 trains that go through. Most of them are trunk lines. So we see manifest trains, we see unit trains, we see intermodal trains.
Right.
All running through here. Of those, 2 are part of the CPKS, the Canadian Pacific Kansas City Southern system that merger just occurred.
Right.
And so that means we're the midpoint on that new system, which is the only system that connects Canada to Mexico, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And then you have the UP system. We have 5 lines on it, 4 of which are mainline truck lines, and then the other one is a designated spur that the UP continues to own, in my opinion, because it connects to the depot and it's a matter of national security.
Yeah.
But it's operated by a short line.
Okay.
And so we have the pricing of a Class 1, but the service delivery of a short line, and that's what feeds our property.
Right.
And it's the best of both
worlds. No, that's another unique attribute that you offer that it's hard to replicate that.
Yes, because if it weren't for the base, I'm sure it would just be a short line.
Yeah.
And we would be at the...
Yeah. They have great service, but sometimes the pricing is a little bit different. Right.
So, and when you're trying to pull into a congested yard, sometimes service isn't as good as it should be, also with short lines.
Right.
So it's the best of all situations. But again, with the UP system, we set where we are the farthest west location until you actually get up to a St. Louis or a Chicago. Right. But so for this portion of the country, we're the furthest west railhead on that UP system, which is kind of interesting. And then we've got the 4 major lines that connect here. So it becomes a great place to do rail, whether it's inbound or outbound.
Right.
That's part of the reason why we offer transload services. So we own 2 locomotives, and we have the ability to do transload. Right now we do rock, but we could handle bulk activity. We've got warehouses that are well served that we can handle that in. We also provide storage and spotting, and we do storage for rail customers on our footprint, but we also do off-site storage. Let's say it's a company that owns several thousand cars and they don't have them leased, but they need a place to park them. We wind up setting cars like that. And we've recently brought Trinity Industries onto the footprint. So now we even have a company who can do maintenance, repair, and overhaul while those cars are setting here.
So much sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
With where you are and what you're doing and the traffic around, it's a great location for that.
Absolutely. So, we just always trying to layer another potential service that just makes it easier for you to operate here.
Right.
We constantly are working at trying to do that.
Let's talk a little bit about, if I'm trying to get into your facility on your footprint, one of the things that I think is unique about what you guys do is, the zoning that you might find in a city or somewhere else. There's been a lot of conversations at industrial conferences about the challenge with finding, places where you can do industrial still, right? Like everybody wants the benefits of an industrial, but nobody wants the industrial. And so they're having this challenge. Talk a little bit about what somebody might find when they're coming onto your footprint and how that might be just a little bit different.
It's a great question about zoning. I'm going to answer it in 2 ways. The first is what is our zoning, and then the other is what you don't have to go through when you work with us.
Right.
So the zoning that we have 3 different campuses. Our East Campus, which is our largest, 8,900 acres. That's where we want to put heavy industry. And I mean heavy industry. I'm talking smokestack. I'm talking about, 40-foot ceiling height with a 50-ton crane. If it's considered big manufacturing, we're set up for that. The other is we have our central campus, which is where you and I are sitting now.
Right.
It's about 765 acres. We've done a lot of development on it. It's the most developed, but it's more for light manufacturing. We also have some office-type applications here. And then we have our west campus. And prior to the data center craze, it was the property we thought we would not, in our lifetimes or careers here, ever get around to marketing.
But you have so much, right? You're like,
right. But as we started to see interest in data centers really start to heat up in the late teens, we started taking a look at, could we use that property because of how far it is from rail, proximity to energy, the more isolated nature of it. I mean, these were a lot of the key attributes that data centers were looking at, 5-10 years ago. And so we started positioning it to be at least a portion of it to be a data center park.
Uh-huh.
And so that property is meant for data centers. It's meant for very light manufacturing. We want to put like Internet of Things type manufacturing there.
More assembly and
absolutely.
Stuff,
Semiconductors, things like that would go on that property. And as we did the CBRE study that found we had long haul here, that really just churned the fortunes of Texarkana around as it got out there, that we would make an excellent data center market because of the low cost of electricity at less than 5 cents a kilowatt hour for a large user, and then having access to the fiber and then all the water that we're bringing onto the footprint. And that kind of interest has just exploded for us. So that's the way we've really worked to set up the zoning activities.
It's more of a future land use plan than it is sort of zoning.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. And we manage that. Remember, we are, when you look at our charter, we're a municipality. So we manage land use or zoning, if you want to call it that. We manage building permits. We manage occupancy permits. And we manage platting when you sell things off at the end stage. So Now, the interesting thing is what we don't do. So we didn't have any incentives on the property back in 2014 when I got here. But the one thing they did have is that as the authority having jurisdiction, the board had decided back when they set the organization up in the late 90s
Right.
to not have any public review process for site plans, building plans, that we would hire competent individuals with experience reviewing those who normally make the recommendation to those committee members anyhow.
Right.
And then as long as, there's nothing political going on, they typically agree with that. We just decided to cut that entire public review process, which can last 6 months to maybe 18 months, out.
Right. So it's not that you're not reviewing or it's not being done right or correctly. I will say it correctly. It's just that you don't have then the extra layer of the public part of that process.
Let's call it for what it is, the bureaucracy.
Right.
And many times people who don't have the technical wherewithal to determine whether or not this is good for the community.
Right.
So our COO, who is a PE, who worked for a private entity that was an industrial development company in Dallas, who also worked for the city of Texarkana, Arkansas as a public works director, who has experience doing this review on both sides,
Right.
is the individual that you work with on your site plan and your building plan. And once he's happy, you can just start your project.
That doesn't happen anywhere.
No. The only other...
Wait, you mean I can just start?
Yes. I had
So awesome.
I had a site selector tell me, he goes, the only other place that does that? I'm like, no, sir, I don't. He goes, well, Disney World. They are set up as a municipality as well.
Right.
And that's why they can have a hurricane go over top of there and be operational the next day. They just do what they need to do to get back in business.
Right.
That's the mindset we bring to the
I
table
love that.
when we're working with a company to try to get operational here.
Ah, man.
So we put a real estate deal together
Uh-huh.
that has to go to my board for approval. So by 1:30, the board's approved it on the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Right.
We can set the closing for 2:30. And then when the closing's over, by 3 o'clock, if you have all your equipment setting at the site, you walk out and you say go, and by 3:05 that day, you can
Turning dirt.
You can be turning dirt.
That is amazing.
You cannot do that anywhere else in the country that I'm aware of,
Yeah.
except for Disneyland.
Right. That is amazing. I knew you had a little bit different process. I didn't realize that it was quite like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about, where people live and quality of life, because again, you're sort of this strange and, interesting place, but you're really, you associate with Texarkana because it's the most, I guess,
Populous community.
populous
in the area.
and
It's a
but
central
you've got a lot of different communities that surround you that sort of
Yes,
like from a quality of life and that sort of thing. Where are people? What does that look like when you say quality of life? Where do you how do you explain that to folks?
Yeah. So we're rural. We're from Texas. We're from Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. And if you love being outside, the state of Arkansas, their national or their state moniker is natural state.
Right.
So if you like being outside, you like fishing, you like hunting, you like boating, or you like biking, or you like hiking, this is an ideal place. You've got multiple federal and state parks and wildlife areas, and in the market, you can do everything from trout fishing to gigging to.
If you don't know what that is, you're gonna have to look it up, and that's something you should be interested in.
to bass fishing.
Yeah.
On all of our lakes and streams around here. The other is that, and I mentioned it earlier, Texarkana is a metro area. So there's a symphony here. We've had episodes of, was it The Price is Right? I think it was here a year or two back.
Right.
Jay Leno's been through on a comedy circuit. We've had several different game shows besides The Price is Right has been done here. We set between major markets, and so when a group is traveling from doing something in Little Rock and heading to Dallas, we're the midpoint.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they'll do a concert here in the middle of the week when they're scheduled to do a concert
it's a nice
on
little
the
fill-in
weekends.
space. Yeah.
And so it's as I said, it's we're this kind of metropolitan community, but with a interesting little blue collar flair.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of private as well as public art studios in the downtown area. A lot of public art has been set out around, so that everyone gets a chance to enjoy it. So just neat stuff like that. And then you got the stuff that's kind of like only here.
Yeah.
We're the only place on the planet that I've been able to find where you can go to a public access diamond mine and find a 3-carat diamond to pay for your kid's education.
Right. I should have done that in part of my exploratory tour out here. That would have been awesome.
Yeah. No, it's called the Crater Diamond State Park. It's in Arkansas State Park, but it's here. It's up by Lake Greeson.
Right.
The Little Missouri flows out of it, and you can go trout fishing. So there's, you can make it a weekend trip, and on Sunday you're going to go diamond hunting, and maybe you're trout fishing on Saturday, and Saturday evening, you're in the downtown eating at one of the restaurants.
Yeah.
So there's just so many things. There's wineries here in the area. Farrell's is a great place. They kind of specialize in, I can't think of the name of it, but the Texas grape.
Okay.
But it's only grown here in Texas, and so kind of just fun stuff like that.
Okay. So there is that nice, and it's pretty laid back here. We've talked about that and kind of laugh about that. Right? When I come out of the Metroplex, and it is just a different.
It's a vibe.
It's every bit as business oriented, right? People doing stuff, making stuff, but at a speed that is, you just kind of have to come out and experience it.
No, I think that's true. Again, we talked about the quality of work. I think everyone's focused on that, but they want to make sure that the time they have with family and friends is quality time with family and friends.
Yeah, it is putting really important things in first, right? And so as we wind down, what is something that you're excited about on the TexAmerica Center campus? What sort of over the horizon, or something that y'all are looking at or kind of gearing up for that that has you very excited about what you're doing here?
So one of the things that we do is we do qualified sites. So we'll pick X number of acres on a specific property, and then our COO does a developability report on it, and we call the program Qualified Sites. Expansion Solutions Magazine and Economic Development Group, or MAG, I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Actually rated our Qualified Sites program as the top certified site program in the South.
Oh, wow.
Above Tennessee's and Georgia's.
Man, congratulations. That's awesome.
So, yes, that was earlier this year. But so the idea is once we have a stable of those, what we want to start moving towards is offering build-to-suits on those properties. And so we are trying to figure out now how we transition into being able to build the suits. We know that we can do it for the smaller buildings.
Yeah.
A 50,000 square foot. We have the cash and the financing to be able to do that for someone. Potentially maybe up to 100, but that starts to get kind of expensive. I mean, but so we're trying to figure out how we develop the financing networks to be able to do larger projects. And we're also trying to develop partnerships so that if it's something bigger, like I had an opportunity to do a 400,000 square foot build-to-suit for a company 2 weeks ago, and I had to tell them no. But if I had a relationship with a larger development company, that's something that we could turn over to them to package, and we just put in the ground in.
Right.
So we're not risking our future on a build-to-suit to lease of something that far exceeds what our nest egg is.
Right. So really, like it's a public-private partnership. It's a little different because you're public, but sort of not sort of public.
Correct.
Right. So you've got to figure out the players there, but you have some freedom that a lot of municipalities don't have to kind of
put something like that together.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are the kind of things that we're trying to figure out right now. And once we figure it out, we can replicate it.
Right.
That's where doing the smaller ones would be great. If someone needs 25,000, 50,000 square foot building, I know we can do that.
Right.
And, once we figure out how to do a 50, we figure out how to create a friends and family, financing type program where we have a list of people that would be interested in helping us to try to do the next larger project.
Yeah.
Then as we're successful, that would grow. And our returns grow, which reseeds our cash.
It's kind of the old industrial foundation model, right? Like we kind of got away from that in Texas because we had the sales tax, but it's very reminiscent of that, where you sort of build and do your own, and you're kind of taking all the pieces and trying to pull it into something. Yeah.
So it's very entrepreneurial. It's kind of focused back on what our customers need. It's how a small business would grow.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to figure out how to make that happen. We know we will. We just got to find the right one to implement on the first one so we can replicate it.
So on the one that you missed, did they go somewhere else, or are they still trying to find a place? Like if you had a partner, could you circle back to them, you think?
Potentially.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. Well, gosh, man, this has been so good. I appreciate you spending time with us. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that, maybe somebody needs to know that they don't know, or like an unexpected find they might have here when you're talking to a site consultant or a small business owner? What's the thing you need to tell them?
So especially for a small business owner, we have the existing buildings. I've got 15 buildings that are 11,500 square feet. I've got 12 buildings that are 22,150 square feet, and we can do a lease on those, get someone in and be operational within about 90 days.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's so fast.
So, and we did that recently with a very large company. They've got a purchase contract on 330 acres to do about a $750 million processing plant. And they'll be processing lithium. Energy X is the company.
Right.
But to start with, they needed to have a demonstration plant. They've been doing processing in South America, but they need to show that their processes will work here in the States before money flows in. So we leased them a 22,000 square foot building, some land adjacent to it. They set their tanks. They pretty much have all of their build-out done. They're hoping to be operational in December. Latest would be January. And should their process work for the brine they're going to be extracting from the facilities around here in southern Arkansas and northeast Texas, that's when they'll pull the trigger on the larger project. And so that's the kind of thing that we can offer a company, whether they're only need 22,000 square feet, or if they need so much more, well, let's figure out how to kind of baby step our way into your
so
project.
You kind of become an industrial incubator, right? Like you hear about this about workspace kind of incubators in the office space and technology space, but that's really what you're talking about on an industrial scale. You could sort of, let's set it up, see how this works, and then you could parlay that into, let's go to 100,000 now.
And I didn't even mention this, Dave. That industrial incubator concept, works very well with the other logistics service we have. We talked about rail, but we didn't talk about third-party logistics.
Right, yeah.
So we have our EVP of logistics, John Sessler, has a 40-year career in doing logistics. He started out in the United States Navy, setting up the logistics on an aircraft carrier. That was his first job.
It's kind of...
He then was the logistics guy for one of the very first online medical companies, managing all that. Then he went into 3PL activities, set up just-in-time delivery for the automotive businesses that went into Alabama.
Right.
And then went to work for a company here, married a girl. They moved here. She fell in love with it, so they never left. But the company he was working for, every time they had to set up a new operation, he'd have to go there, set it up. And then he ran the overall U.S. logistics operation for the company. He was tired of doing the traveling and came to work for us. So we leveraged that 40 years of startup knowledge. And all businesses, as they get started, usually need to have a location to manage logistics, because they're going to want to start delivery from that location.
Right.
So we can do that on a contract basis.
Right.
And we can do value-added services all the way up to maybe even some light manufacturing. So, for instance, we can do pick-pack. We can do assembly of small items. We even for a company that was a pipe distributor, metal pipe. We were operating the machines, putting threading on the metal pipes.
Okay.
So that is a very light manufacturing activity, because the machine does all the work. You just have to have someone make sure the tolerances are set correctly.
Right.
It doesn't adjust. So our guy has the ability, with the existing staff he has, to do that kind of contract work. So we can make it easier for a company to get operational on a contract basis. And if it doesn't work, you retrench. You've not bought a building. You've not done anything that tends to lead to bankruptcy.
Right.
All you've done is tried to see if you can make it work here.
Right. And you're getting the expertise from someone
Absolutely.
who's done it over and over again. You're not trying to figure it out on the fly by yourself.
And if we hire people to run that operation, once you're ready to take it over, you hire them from us. They're your employees now.
Yeah. You've basically helped train the business's employees when they're ready to grow up and be a real company.
Absolutely.
And do it for real. Man, that's amazing.
And that works really well for international businesses.
Right. Oh, yes. I could see where they have it's pretty risky coming from somewhere else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it's risky just doing business, but when you're stepping from the international market into Texas and you don't know
anyone or anything, to be able to start off in a contract, be able to pull out without losing your shirt.
Yeah.
And if things go well, we would do the build to suit for you.
Yeah. And most of them have an acceptable risk tolerance. Like, we're going to put this much at risk, and it's what do we get for that bang of the buck? Does it really get us to proof of concept, and is it really going to get us where we need?
Exactly.
For with you guys, that really stretches that dollar and allows them to get much further down the road.
And that risk level is much lower.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Eric, it's awesome, man. Thank you for sitting down with us. It's been an interesting trip, as always. You're so knowledgeable. I appreciate your expertise in what you do, and you've been at this a really long time, and you can tell there's a lot of passion behind it, and that you really understand what it is you're doing here, and I appreciate that. So thank you guys for having us out and for being on the show, and we look forward to new announcements and things coming out of TexAmerica Center in the near future.
Well, we thank you and Jane for all the work you do for us and for having us on your show. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks. Eric, welcome to the show. That's all for today, folks. If you want to learn more about TexAmerica Center and explore the Upper East Texas Regional Spotlight Series, please visit us at gonetotexaspodcast.com and hear more stories from Texas' grown success right here in the East Texas region. Thanks for listening to Gone to Texas Podcast, and please like, share, and subscribe so more business owners can discover what's possible here in the Lone Star State. If you're tired of the red tape, high costs, or maybe you're just feeling stuck where you are, This is your invitation to come to Texas. The Texas Economic Development Connection exists to help you skip the runaround and connect directly with the people and the places ready to help your business grow. Because when you find the right spot in Texas, your business wins. Your people, your future, and your freedom win too. Visit TexasEDConnection.com to schedule your free call. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, saying bye for now, and until next time, make it a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Gone to Texas, the official podcast of the Texas Economic Development Connection, powered by Day One Experts, a collection of the country's best-known economic development professionals offering on-demand services to communities across the nation.